Hey guys, it's your girl Janae Nicole coming at you from beautiful sunny South Florida. I'm still coming off a high from attending my very first Big Baller Conference, as I like to call it. Podcast Movement 2015 was so epic. Girls, I'm telling you, I am almost 1 month out from the conference and I'm still digesting all of the amazing just nuggets and takeaways from that conference. The creators, Jared and Dan, and the other two fellas, they really put their heart and soul into that conference, and you could tell from the atmosphere of the people. I mean, it was just amazing. Like I said, this was my very first official big baller conference, as I like to call it, because I actually had to leave the state and get on the plane and rent a car and get the hotel and the whole shebang. But I mean, from just coming into the hotel and seeing these huge, this huge banner in the front of the hotel. They had these columns once you got inside the hotel that just wrapped around some of these huge columns inside the hotel. And it was like a pretty swanky hotel for them to be able to put all of their signage up like that, and it was done so tastefully that it didn't take away from the ambiance of the actual beauty of the hotel. And let me just say, if you're going to Dallas Fort Worth, Texas, please stay at the Omni. That hotel is gorgeous. The beds were divine. I mean, the staff was amazing. I just cannot say enough good things about that Omni Hotel. It was really a wonderful experience, and I've stayed at quite a few different, nice hotels, but the Omni, I have to say, it's really become one of my favorites so far. So, if I'm going back, I'm definitely going to stay at the Omni Fort Worth. But anyway, back to this Big Baller Conference. So, it was just mind blowing, the content that I got, the big huge takeaways, which I'm going to share some of my favorite quotes and takeaways from the keynote speakers of the conference. I'm not going to share everything that I have, all of my notes and things like that, but it was just amazing. I met some really beautiful souls. I met some super cool black girls who rock. I met some new Caucasian friends as well. Connections that I made with some of the other black women that were there. I will cherish this experience forever, you guys. And this is just me saying that if you get a chance to get your coins up and go to Podcast Movement next year, 2016, it's going to be in Chicago, Illinois. Please Google Podcast Movement 16. I know the tickets won't be available till December, but get your coins up, girls, and meet me in Chicago 2016, because I'm telling you, you will take your business to the next level, especially if you are a podcaster. It was just amazing. You don't have to be a podcaster to go to Podcast Movement either. But either way, just the information that you will get to help move your business, move your life forward. Most of the black girls I met, like the next to last day of the whole conference, and we just clicked. You hear me? Like, one of them, Angela, she set up a Facebook page for us, black girl podcasters, and we just really connected. And it was just awesome to really get to talk to them and just see where they are in their journey and how excited and passionate they are about what they're doing in their individual spaces. I have to give a shout out to my girls at the Sister Speak podcast, which I am absolutely in love with. The Game of Thrones podcasts that they do. They do quite a few of them. I think they have like 8 or 9 shows. I'm not quite sure, but I know they do one on The Walking Dead and they're doing one on Empire. But I am a huge fan of Game of Thrones, and I just fell in love with their Game of Thrones podcast. Those girls crack me the heck up. I love them. And me and my husband got to actually just meet them and hang out with them. I didn't know, of course, at the time that they had this amazing podcast that they've been doing for so many years. But I just love Sister K. Me and her, we just like, she just, I kept seeing her at the conference, and every time I would see her, I'd be like, "Hey, girl," and she'd be like, "Hey, girl," and we just kind of like connected. It was just kind of like, I think we might be the same person in a different universe. But I am such a cornball. But I just love Sister K. That girl is just awesome. So I'm gonna quit ragging on her right now. But I just want y'all to know, Sister K, if you listening, woo woo boo. So I'm gonna get into this. I'm not gonna hold y'all up. I just wanted y'all to know how amazing that conference was. I know they still have virtual tickets that you can get, and you can experience some of the speakers. All of the sessions. I don't know if they are live yet, but you can get a virtual ticket to see all of the speakers and all of the different breakout sessions that they had at Podcast Movement. So as soon as I find out that that's live, I'll post that up in the show notes so that you can take advantage, because I'm telling you, life changing, people, life changing. So let's get into it. This is the best of Podcast Movement 2015. Okay. So my key takeaways from Pat Flynn, he was the very first keynote, and his session was called The Real Podcasting Struggle, You versus You. Some of my favorite takeaways that Pat said was, he did this presentation where he's talking, and then all of a sudden he seems like he's having a problem with his presentation, and then all of a sudden you hear this voice come out of nowhere, and he's like saying all these negative things to Pat, like, "Oh, who do you really think you are?" This, that, and the third, like really going in on Pat. So finally, once it's all said and done, you realize it's the voice inside of Pat's head, basically. Um, that negative voice that you hear when you're trying to do something, that tells you you're not smart enough, you're not good enough to do this. Why should anybody listen to you anyway? That sort of thing. And he made a very impactful statement, is that we all keep this one hater with us, and it's ourselves. We are our own worst enemy, and if we can just learn to shut that down, we would be so much further. Like, yeah, you're always going to have that voice in the back of your head that says that you can't do it, nobody's going to listen to you anyway, who do you think you are? But you have to do it anyway, right? So that was the first key takeaway. His other one was that associate yourself with the right people. The power of the whole is greater than the single. And that is so key. Just like I was telling you guys in the beginning, me meeting some incredible black women that are also podcasters, and seeing where there are some of them haven't even launched yet, but just seeing and talking to each other because they have a vision of something greater, it can help you validate your vision and also like pull you to the next level for those that's already doing it, and you see the success, like you see where you can go with it. So once you surround yourself with the people that are crushing it in the space, even if they're not, Oprah Winfrey yet, you see that they're well on their way, and you need to get on with them because they're going to motivate you to do the same thing, to take your thing and go to the next level with it. And it's not just about you getting yourself to the next level, but it's about you also helping them get to the next level, because that's the whole point. The power is not in focusing on just a single person. The power is in seeing everybody come up at the same time, and that's powerful for me anyway. So his next one was, fear is a good indicator of what you should be doing. Transform by creating impossible goals. So when you have a fear and you're really fearful about, you want to do something, but you're really fearful about what others are going to think about you, how you're going to pull it off, where you're going to get the money from, and you have all these nagging doubts, that's a good indicator that that's something that you should pursue. And that's how transformation happens. It's by creating an impossible goal that you see no way that you by yourself can make this happen. And that's how you transform. God puts things inside of us that we have a desire and hope for, but we don't know how it's going to happen. And like I always said, just take the step. As soon as you make the step, the provision is going to be there. You just have to be faithful and go ahead and go for that thing. Okay, so that was pretty self explanatory, right? But as you can tell, I am just so pumped about this information. I hope that you take this, even though you weren't there, that you can take what I learned and you can really apply this to your life and crush it, okay? Whatever you have a goal and dream for, please, I need you to fulfill your purpose in this world. Do not take these things for granted. Every day is a gift, people. So I'm going to get off my little tangent and get back to it. The last point I had for Pat Flynn's keynote was, it's not about you. It's who's on the other side. So basically, no matter what fear that's holding you back and the naysayer that you have in your head, don't think about what you're going to get out of it. Think about that person that needs to hear the message that you have in your heart. It's somebody on the other side of whatever it is that you have holding you back. It's somebody on the other side that desperately needs to hear that. You have no idea how you can impact that person's life. So you just think about that person. I'm thinking about you right now to make me want to sit here on a beautiful Saturday when I could be out enjoying this gorgeous Florida weather with my husband. But it's important that I get this information out here. So I'm thinking about you while I'm sitting here recording this. Okay, so think about that person that you're going to affect. You have no idea until you actually do it, and you may never know the impact that you're going to have on that person's life. But it's a good chance that you'll get a glimpse of some of the change that you cause in the world from this. And we'll come back to the world changers later on, so just hold on for that. Okay, so my next keynote speaker was Roman Mars, which I had heard his name, but I didn't really know who he was. I never listened to his show. But Roman Mars, his keynote speech was designing a career in podcasting, or how to never see your family without leaving the house. That's what his topic was. But he had some really awesome tips as well. So his first takeaway that I got from it was, telling the right story can change the feeling or perspective. So the thing is, you could tell a story to somebody, and depending on how you tell that story, or depending on the story you tell, you could tell me a story and it changed my idea about how I feel about you. So some brands would do this in their advertising, and I know there's some Asian companies I've seen on Facebook, some YouTube ads and things like that, where it was just like, they're really touching, and it's like, yeah, these are brands that you wouldn't even think that they would have. Like, there was one with this woman who her baby died, giving birth, I guess, while you could tell they were in the hospital. She had twins, and one baby lived and one baby died. But as that mother held that baby that was dead and caressed that baby and cried over that baby and prayed over that baby, the baby came back to life. And it was just like such a tender moment that the advertisement wasn't even for the product. It just was like it told a story of a tender moment that I'm sure really resonated with people, especially parents and mothers. And you will never forget that advertisement. I know I'll never forget it. I have no idea what it, their product was, but I'll never forget that moment. So telling the story that you tell is vitally important on getting the feeling, changing the feeling and or perspective of your tribe or your people. And okay, that's enough of that. So quality is the best business strategy. No matter what your business, quality is the most important thing. Don't just put anything out there. Whether you're doing hair, writing a book, doing a podcast, make sure that it's quality, because people know when you cut corners, you know. And just like I was raving about the Omni Hotel, it was the quality and the care that not just you saw in the room and how things was just put together just so, and the little touches and the little extras that they do. It was the quality of the people, the employees, and a smile here and there, a helpful hand. Not just to get a tip, but just because they were genuinely nice people. So people know what's quality, and we know when you cutting corners and you trying to be cheap. Whatever you do in your business, that is the best business strategy. Quality over quantity every day, all day, right? So make as many good things happen as possible. I'm going to take it out of context a little bit as far as what Roman said, but it is what it is. You want to make as many good things happen for your people as you possibly can. And you're doing it not so that you can get something back, but you're doing it because you want to be a help. And I truly and honestly believe that, like they say, Zig Ziglar, help as many people as you can. The more you can help that person get to where they want to be, the more people are going to help you back. And it's not because you're trying to get what you want to get, but it's because you honestly want to help, be a help and not a hindrance, right? This one was really funny to me. He said, Roman Mars said, if you can save the world time, you're doing God's work. And I thought that was hilarious. But it's really true, because think about it. Time is our most precious commodity. You're never going to get that time back. Like I've said before, tomorrow is done and gone. It will never happen again. And if you could save me a couple hours of my life, then you've done God's work by helping me. you know, use those hours doing something that is going to impact the world, or that's going to make me at the end of my days say, I had a good journey. It was a journey well lived, right? I just thought that was hilarious, though. Sorry for getting the octaves up on y'all, but I thought that was hilarious when he said that if you were doing God's work, if you could help save the world some time. And the last key takeaway I got from Roman Mars was own your work. Um, at point blank, period. Own your work. I believe he said it in context of, when you're taking on advertisers or taking on sponsors and things like that, you want to make sure that you're not basically selling your soul. You want to always be in control of your own work, because that's the whole point of being job optional, is so that you have that freedom. The work that you're doing that you love, it's yours, and don't squander it away to somebody because you want to make a couple coins. Yes, it's business, and we're in business to make money, but make sure that in getting that money, it's not going to make you a slave to your passion. Like they say, all money ain't good money, girls. And my couple guys that I know, y'all listening. You sneaky little minks. Okay, so that's it for my Roman Mars quotes. I'm definitely going to um, start listening to 99% Invisible, his show, because I really enjoyed his talk. But I have so many doggone podcasts that I'm listening to right now, and trying to listen to all my paradisers and get them, help them get rated and reviewed. I'm just like super busy. Okay, so let me quit fooling around here. My next keynote speaker that I really resonated with was Lou Mangello. I'm not really hip to him. I have heard his name before, but he did a really awesome job in his keynote. And his first title of his keynote was 10 Questions. The first thing I took from him was success is measured by levels of happiness, not money. And that's self-explanatory. Money definitely, it can buy you things, but it can't buy you happiness. We've seen that all too well with all the celebrity breakups and makeups and murders and lies, deceit, and everything else. So just because you have money doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy. Um, he had quite a few, so I'm kind of going to go through these pretty quickly because most of them are self-explanatory. Be the book you want to read. Be interesting. You don't want to read something boring and sad and pitiful. Be that book. Be that book that you want to read. Something that's interesting to you. I met another black girl that rocks. She has a science podcast that she's starting up. And I just thought that was so cool. And it was like, I'm not really a science nerd, but I'm really interested in her show because of how she explained it to me. And I'm looking forward to it. So just that's something that she would want to be interested in. And just like she's making the show that she would listen to. So there you have it. I don't have competition. And that was really key to me because you see you get on Facebook and you get on these different platforms and you see people that are really crushing it out here and you feel like, wow, who am I? They already are killing it in the game. But when Lou said this, I don't have competition. He's absolutely right. Nobody can be competition for me because I am the only Janae Nicole that's from Dayton, Ohio, that lives in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, that's had the life experiences and met the people and know the things that I know. Nobody can compete with that. There is no other me. I am uniquely me in my down to the DNA. No one else is me. Even if I had a twin, they wouldn't be me. They wouldn't have the same thoughts, feelings, and ideas that I have. They wouldn't have the God given talents that I have. So think of yourself like that. You don't have any competition, so don't even worry about what the next person is doing. Do you and crush that out. Okay? He said it's about real connections. And that's true. You hear it all the time. Your net worth is directly proportional to your net work. I'm going to say that again. Your net worth is directly proportional to your net work. Who are you hanging around? What do your friends have? What are they talking about? Make sure that you connect once again with people that are doing and moving in the direction that you want to see your life move in. I'm not saying cut your old friends out, but maybe, help them elevate their mindset as well. But you can't be the smartest person in the room all the time. So you got to surround yourself with people that are about something and they want to go to the next level, right? And it ain't just about getting to the next level because you want to be around it. You don't want to be just hanging around influencers because you want to be where they are. It's about really connecting with people and being a person of value and adding value to others' lives. So, like I said, as you help others get where they want to get, you're going to get there as well. All right. On to the next. Legacy is not just about money. And I've said this before. What do you want to leave as your legacy for your children and for your children's children? And even if you don't have kids, what do you want the world to say about you when you're gone? 10, 20, 50 years from now? Will people speak well of you? I think that's enough to ponder. You want to leave a lasting legacy of positivity on the planet. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that girl that's like, you remember so and so. Ooh. I remember my mom told me they had a girlfriend in high school and they were talking about her at her funeral about some scandalous things that she did back in the day, and it was like, wow, my mom is up there in age, and it's like, you're talking about something that happened 50 years ago. And you got people at your funeral still keep keying about something that you did when you were a teenager. So be mindful of the legacy you're leaving, especially in this social media age. Everything you say, everything you post, it's there forever. And just be mindful of that. You might have a bad day, an off day. You could delete it, but somebody could have screenshot it before you deleted it the next day when you had a cooler mind and thought it through. I have a couple friends that they keep putting their personal business about their spouse and significant other on Facebook, and I'm like, really? Now y'all back together? You just put your wife business all out in the atmosphere. Now everybody kind of thinks she might be a little side piece. I'm just saying, don't shoot the messenger. Okay. Legacy is not just about money, people. The next thing Lou said that really struck a nerve with me, a chord with me, should I say. You don't know how you're going to affect somebody's life, which also kind of came into play in Pat Flynn's keynote. I've said it before. You just don't know. There's no way of knowing, and we won't beat it over the head with. You just don't know the person that you're going to affect, how you're going to affect that person's life. Okay? The only failure is quitting. I agree with this statement to a certain degree. If you're, Aisha Tyler covers it in the next point that I'm going to make, but if you're quitting because you feel like you listened to that voice in your head that said that you weren't good enough and you just don't feel like what you're doing is making a difference, and you're bored with it, and or something along those lines, you're just quitting just because you don't it was too hard for you, then you definitely failed. You definitely did. I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but if that's the reason that you quit, it was a failure. If you quit just because it was too hard, or you're not good enough, or so and so said they didn't like it, then that was a epic fail, and you can own it. But I'm here to tell you, I've quit some things and I've had some epic failures. But today's a new day, and I'm gonna leave it at that. There's a fine line between brilliance and utter stupidity. I'm not going to go on about that. I think it says all it needs to say. There is a fine line between brilliance and utter stupidity. All right. My next girl, who was my favorite, and I have to say this, Janae Nicole, am a Pat Flynn fan for life. I love Pat Flynn. I'm going to share with you guys that I actually had a fangirl moment. Pat Flynn came off the elevator, and I was standing in the right place at the right time as he came off the elevator and was making his way down the hallway to the main floor. I was in his direct line of vision. I was the first person that he was going to see and come upon as soon as he walked into the room. There was nobody else around me at that moment. Next to me was my husband. And for some strange reason, I totally flaked out. And I was just like, oh my God, it's Pat Flynn to my husband. And I just kind of scurried away. And I just was like, hey, Pat, you're awesome. My husband was like, really? What are you doing? You love that guy. Why you didn't get a picture with him? I was like, I don't know. I just froze. I have never been a groupie in my life. Not one time. I have been face to face with celebrities, and I've never been that girl to be like, oh, it's so and so. That's just not who I am. But when I saw him, I lost it. I honestly must say, y'all, I really lost it. But he is my favorite, so we gonna keep that on the record. Pat Flynn is my favorite guy, but for the keynotes, this black girl who rocks, she crushed it, y'all. Aisha Tyler. When I tell you, she was hands down my number one favorite. She killed it. Anyway, I'm going to give you a couple of little points that she gave, and we'll be pretty much done with this episode, and I think I have one more. But Aisha said, passion is the only ingredient. That's all you need. All you need is a passion for something. And if you have that passion, you're gonna go for it. You just are. Take that passion and run for it. Don't let anybody dissuade you. That's all you need is a passion for something. You don't have to know how to run a business, how do you do this. None of that stuff matters. You don't need to know any of that. As long as you have a passion for something, you could be successful at it. Now, I ain't saying, don't get the education and don't learn the right things. But if you have a passion for something, that's all you need. You don't have to be sitting here trying to figure out what am I going to talk about? This, that, and the third. If you have a passion for something, pursue it. Pursue it. I have many passions, and I have pursued pretty much all of them. So don't let anything stop you, but take that passion and run with it. Her next one was be relentless. That's it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Be relentless. Do not stop. I have been exhausted, y'all. Since I've been back, we've been super busy at work, on my day job. But I have still been trying to carve a couple hours every day to do something with my business and move this podcast forward. So be relentless. That's going to be my word for the year. Relentless. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to do everything I can to see this be successful. Okay. She said, don't be afraid to pivot. Quitting is not failing if you don't enjoy it anymore. See that there, people? If you don't enjoy it anymore, that is your out. Not because you just couldn't hack it and you just listen to naysayers. It's that you're not happy with it anymore. You've lost your zeal for it. You don't want to do it anymore. It's not fun. You've become a slave to it, should I say. It's one of those kind of situations. Don't, take this as, I just don't like it no more, because in the back of your mind, you really don't think you can do it. But you can always pivot. You could get to a point where you're not quite happy with the way certain thing is going and you kind of want to move in a new direction. That's absolutely fine. Do that. Like, I think I'm going to pivot a little bit with the podcast, and initially I only wanted to do a topic-based show, and I had my heart set on it. That's all I want to do, a topic-based. I don't want to interview people. There's a million interview shows. But when I met so many amazing black girls at the podcast movement, I just feel like I have to share some of these black success stories. So I'm going to try to figure out how I'm going to incorporate it into the show down the line. But for right now, we're going to still stay topic based. But don't be surprised if you see, a success story featured here and there, okay? So her next point was listen and do your best work. Listen to what your people have to say. Don't just be like it's your way and the highway. Listen to your tribe. They're going to tell you what they want. And then do your best to put out there the things that's going to help them move forward, because them moving forward is going to be you moving forward as well. And her last and final point was it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and get back up. And that's it. That's it. That was pretty much her whole keynote. It was surrounding how many licks can you take and keep going. You can get knocked down a million times. I told you I've had several businesses that I've started and I failed at each one of them, and I'm not ashamed of it. Each one of them was a learning experience for me, and each one of them gave me a new tool to use in this present moment. So, like I said, Aisha Tyler, she rocked it out. For her to, she does so many things. She's a comedian, she's on a talk show, she's doing shows and this, that, and the third. But she still does her entire podcast by herself, every single bit of it. So if this lady that is crushing life right now on national TV and all of these things, and she could have somebody do the show for her, if she does it herself week in and week out because of the love of it, then why can't I? Now, why can't you? Okay, so the last keynote that I have for you today was John Lee Dumas, and his keynote was really good. I'm a big John Lee Dumas fan. If you can believe it, he does a 7 day a week podcast called Entrepreneur on Fire, and I listen to his show daily. I am one of those that I have listened to all at this point 1,030 some odd shows. I think it's 1,032 right now that I'm at. I have listened to every one of them. I may have not listened all the way to him, maybe 3 to 5 of them, but I have listened to every single podcast that he put out. And he was one of those people that when he came out, I could not stand his voice. I was like, who is this Joker? And what in the world is he doing? His show was so stiff, but he had some really amazing guests. So that's what made me keep coming back, because he had a lot of people on that I knew about in the industry, and I was like really interested in what they had to say. So that's where he won me over in the beginning. But the more he did it, like I saw his evolution from the beginning of being really stiff, and like I felt like, oh, he just a knockoff, especially when he started doing the podcasting, like camps or whatever he was doing, something like Cliff Ravenscraft was doing podcast answer, man. And I'm like, this little joker that came in and, and just tried to take over. And I didn't like him at all I'd say the first couple weeks. But then, like, the more he went along, I fell in love with the show. And I always get something from every episode, even the ones that I feel like they don't even apply to me. I listen anyway, and I always come away with something. So I'm a big fan of John Lee Dumas, and he is really crushing it in the space. So I'll share you what he said in his keynote, which was, if I can find it, Deconstructing Podcasting Success. Real life stories of failure turned into freedom was the actual title that's in the book. But I believe I have something else on my, yeah, that's what it was. But he really gave some really cool think he really gave some really good stuff in his session. So, like I said earlier, try to get that virtual ticket so you can really get everything that they said in all of the sessions, because everybody was great. Even the breakout sessions. Oh man, I got so much actionable advice in those sessions. This show would be a 10-hour long show if I shared every single thing I took from every single person, and I just can't do it. So, and to me, it was an investment that I made in myself so that I could get this information. And I feel like if you want to get it, make the investment yourself to get the full story. But I want to share with you what I took away from it. Okay, so John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire, his keynote, what he shared, the first tip I took away was, if you want to be, do. And he says this a lot of times on his podcast, but that just reiterates it for me. What's your courage story? Everybody has one. And whatever your courage story is, you should share it so that you can help somebody else. If you want to be successful, you have to be consistent. And that's why I'm sitting here today recording this podcast for you guys, because I don't have any more in the queue and I have been lazy and I have got to get this done. But I want to be successful at it. So I have to make sure that this show comes out on Tuesday as planned, so that if I say it, the show's going to be there, it'll be there. So every Tuesday, you know that you're going to have a show to listen to. And I'm going to bring you some awesome content every single week, week in and week out. That's it. Consistency is key in everything that we do in life. I just started working out with the husband, and he is wearing me out, y'all. Jesus. But I'm trying to be faithful over it. I honestly am, because anything that you go after in life, if you're not consistent with it, you might as well not do it. You have to be consistent to see any kind of result. So one weekend, I'm feeling stronger, but let me just say, leg day was a beast, and I'm still recovering. So anyway, the last point John Lee Dumas made was invest, learn, teach. Invest in yourself, learn the content, and turn around and teach it to somebody else. That's all he did. And he is consistently making, I believe, like he's making over six figures. Monthly. That's monthly. Well over six figures. I believe his last month was almost $250,000. So all he did was invested in himself, learn the content, and now he teaches it to others. That's all he does. And that's all any of these, gurus or whatever you want to call them, internet marketers, anybody. Well, that's how you do it. And that's what I'm doing. Investing in myself, learning the content, and teaching it to you guys. And you could do the same thing. Okay, so that was everything, girls. I think that you guys should be able to take a lot from this episode, and let me know how you enjoyed it. Hit me up at Job Op on Twitter, the Job Optional Podcast on Facebook, and of course, all of this information in the show notes at JanaeNicole.com. And know that you're loved. You are loved. I'll holla. And don't forget, go to iTunes and rate and review the show, y'all. Help me get to the top of the list. All right. I'll holla.